You know, emulating dual-screen consoles on handhelds has been kinda a unique challenge over the years. Most handhelds only have a single screen, which takes away the core experience of many dual-screen games. And those that do have two usable screens are usually running Android, which completely excludes Wii U emulation. Some recent ad hoc constructions have kinda gotten to a good enough solution for many dual-screen games, but it's still been a few steps shy of seamless. That is, until now. Ayaneo's new Flip DS is the first dual-screen Windows handheld PC, well, of the recent handheld boom at least. And it attempts to translate a lot of what made the 3DS great into something a lot more powerful and modern. Over the past couple weeks, I've been using mine. I really do think they're onto something. But mainly for dual-screen emulation nerds like me. To start, let me set some basic expectations. This handheld comes equipped with an AMD Ryzen 7 7840U. It's a common processor these days among handhelds, and will net you approximately the same performance as Z1 Extreme equipped handhelds like the Asus ROG Ally or Lenovo Legion Go, and a slight boost of max possible performance over a Steam Deck. Nothing too shocking. In real-world terms, that means that heavier games like Control or Horizon Zero Dawn max out at about 40-ish FPS at 720p with low to medium presets, before even messing with FSR. Although, it is worth noting that these games typically require setting the TDP to 20 watts or higher, to the detriment of battery life. I'm lucky to get a full hour of gameplay at max settings, which often means I'm not tuning settings for the best possible performance unless I'm tethered to an outlet. Luckily, lighter games can be run at a much lower TDP while still showing the full 1080p 120Hz of the Flip's display. At those lower TDP settings, I've had no problem getting 4 or more hours of gameplay before reaching for the charger. All of this is actually well within expectations coming from my Steam Deck. Handhelds these days likely won't see huge gains in battery life until either battery tech improves or Windows on ARM starts to take off. Though, credit to Ayaneo, the fact that the system automatically hibernates when I close the screen has given the Flip DS a major lead over my Steam Deck in terms of standby battery life. But so far, so same. From a performance standpoint, there's not much here to make the Flip DS stand out. But also not a ton to keep you away. That is, except for the fact that it could offer a degraded gameplay experience for many people over those other available handhelds due to its control scheme. The GPD Win-esque recessed half-height Hall effect sticks on display here are best described as serviceable. Meanwhile, all of the face buttons are extremely clicky, almost to a fault, with very little travel. Both of these factors were implemented in the service of the Flip DS's clamshell design, which I will come back to later, and are likely to be this handheld's most controversial design choice, beyond a hinge design which allows the screen to rest against my fingers when extended. Yet, across the couple dozen hours I've put into this handheld so far, I actually don't mind the controls too much. I'm not the biggest fan of how my thumbs occasionally touch the sides of the joystick wells, but I forget about them entirely while playing a game. Plus, the textured grips around back kinda guide my hands in just the right way to make the controls feel about as comfortable as a 3DS, with the diagonally oriented analog triggers feeling especially nice to pull once my hands are in the right positions. For you folks watching this, though, it's really going to be something that you either vibe with or you don't. If you hate clicky buttons or play a lot of games that require extra precise joystick control, the Flip likely isn't for you. Not to mention, even for someone like me, who doesn't mind the controls, there's no denying that the controls on a Steam Deck or ROG Ally feel much better in almost every way for just about every game in my Steam library. Both those systems will also cost you hundreds of dollars less. If you buy a base model Flip DS, you'll be paying $840 minimum. That's over $400 more than a base ROG Ally or LCD Steam Deck, either of which will get you relatively similar performance outside the most demanding games. In the context of Windows gaming, in general, the Flip DS feels completely overpriced for the performance it offers, while also providing a subpar controller experience. Honestly, if all you'll be doing is playing games off Steam, there's no real reason to buy this device. But hey, if all you were looking for was a handheld Steam machine, you probably already knew all this. Plus, for all of these handhelds, it's less about the general performance, as long as it doesn't completely suck, and more so about what unique aspects they have to offer over the competition. As is obvious at first glance, the Flip DS has two main tricks up its sleeve: a clamshell design and a second screen. Starting with the design, shifting the main display above the controls and slapping a hinge on it allows the console to be designed much more compactly than most other handheld PCs on the market. Having a flip-up display also gives the device a built-in screen protector and stick guard, all of which makes the Flip DS one of the few handheld PCs you can buy right now that can be thoughtlessly thrown in a bag or even a pair of cargo shorts without a bulky case. Having a much bigger, much better main display than my 3DS XL, it's been much easier to just pick up and play compared to my bulky Steam Deck. Without a doubt, this simple boost to travelability might honestly be the Flip DS's killer feature. If someone told me they bought a Flip DS or its keyboard-equipped cousin, the Flip KB, just for the portability factor, I'd totally get it. Even still, what makes the Flip DS stand out amongst all the other handheld PCs is the simple fact that it has a second screen. Though, you'd actually need to be a specific kind of person to really get the most use out of it. If you were primarily just hoping to offload videos, system controls, or Discord chats to the lower screen, you might be disappointed. For most general Windows apps, the second screen is just way too small for precise touch navigation. The built-in touch point is super effective to help bridge that gap for general navigation, but also lacks the ability to click and drag windows, meaning that you'll need to awkwardly use touch to drag windows from the top screen to the bottom screen, and then fumble a bit to maximize the window on the lower screen. It's just not great. ISpace integration helps here a bit, but introduces some problems of its own. I've enjoyed its usage for changing power profiles on a whim and monitoring FPS and power usage while initially setting up a game. Using it as an app launcher has also been great for just quickly jumping into a game. However, there's a serious lack of customization within the app, which means there's a ton of extra options and menus that I really have no use for. That's including the awkward second screen assistant they have, which on the surface seems similar to a feature found on many dual screen handhelds to allow me to quickly pull a window from the top screen. But it's implemented in such a half-assed way that I'm not sure what they were ultimately going for. Yet, perhaps the thing that bothers me the most is actually the fact that it can't open the keyboard on the lower screen. As of me recording this video, the keyboard only opens on the top screen and takes up half the screen every time it does. Obviously, being so small, the typing experience on the lower screen is bound to be subpar, but the utility of having that option would be preferred. Ayaneo's recently described plans to fix some of these gripes within a future ISpace update. However, the fact that they released such an expensive handheld, whose main feature is that second screen, with such a subpar second screen experience, is disappointing, to say the least. Considering the number of dual screen phones, laptops, and handheld devices that have released in the past decade, it's always a bit confusing to see a new one launch from a company that seemingly hasn't thought through how an average person would actually use that second screen. Of course, most folks picking up a Flip DS likely won't spend a lot of time experiencing these gripes because they'll be too busy playing 3DS and Wii U games. And it's in the emulation of both these systems where the Flip DS's true strength lies, and where I've seen the most value. Most of my time with the Flip DS has been spent playing Alpha Sapphire, Splatoon, and Wind Waker, among a few other games. At each step of the way, emulation at native or just above native resolution runs extremely smooth at a 12-watt TDP, with most performance hitches that I've experienced coming from quirks of the emulator rather than the system's capabilities. Even though the lower screen is more than a little awkward for navigating windows, it's actually about the same size as the lower display on an original 3DS. That similarity ultimately makes it surprisingly comfortable to play the vast majority of 3DS and Wii U games. That's largely because by the time both systems hit the market, most dual-screen experiences had trended toward using the lower screen to offload inventory space, maps, menus, or controller shortcuts. The strategies of those games to keep the main display as clean as possible while providing constant access to those secondary gameplay features is actually the reason why I still love playing many Wii U games over their Switch ports. And it feels great here, even if a bit cramped compared to a gamepad. Overall, I'd say it actually feels remarkably similar in hand to a larger 2DS XL. On a couple occasions while playing Alpha Sapphire, I even found myself instinctively reaching for my stylus, before remembering that I wasn't actually playing on original hardware. As a portable, handheld Wii U that can also play 3DS games, the Flip DS is ridiculously effective. For anyone who's been looking for an excuse to work their way through either system's library on a portable system with higher resolution graphics and modifications, I couldn't recommend it enough. Though there are a couple factors which prevent the Flip DS from being the perfect dual-screen emulator. The first comes back to the screen size. While adequate for most gameplay, it being so small relative to the upper display does break any cinematics or graphics that span both screens. It'll also make any games with gameplay focusing on the bottom screen feel more cramped than usual. Fortunately, most of these issues would come from DS games. Unfortunately, DS emulation kinda sucks on the Flip DS due to reasons outside Ayaneo's control. DS emulators on Windows don't currently support separate windows during gameplay. That means that the emulator's single screen needs to be manually stretched across both displays. Considering the touch point can't click and drag and touch being insufficient to stretch windows between screens, you'll need to carry an external mouse to set up gameplay each time. On top of that, you'd need to lower the top display's resolution to match the lower display in order to prevent some awkward scaling issues. There are some signs that Melon DS might get multi-window support in the future, but until then, I wouldn't recommend buying the Flip DS to play DS games, unless you're really dedicated to making it work. Okay, to close out this video, let's summarize everything I've said so far. First up, the Flip DS is more than capable of holding its own against other handhelds on the market in the realm of Steam and Windows gaming. That's mainly because the 7840U inside is basically the same as the chipsets in most of those other handhelds. Given the potentially awkward controls, lackluster software support for that second screen for Windows gaming, and that screen's small size, there's not a huge benefit of picking up the Flip DS over those other handhelds either, unless you like paying hundreds of dollars more for a lesser experience. The only folks who should really be looking to pick up a Flip DS are those who both really love the clamshell design and also those who want to emulate 3DS and Wii U games. Even with the current awkwardness of DS emulation, if someone purchased the Flip DS as a modern handheld Wii U, they're gonna have a great time. What's really left to be seen is how big a demand there is for an expensive device like this, whose main use case is emulating two dual-screen consoles, and how fast Ayaneo can actually deliver some updates to complete the dual-screen experience this device should have shipped with. Still, For now, I'm having a great time with my Flip DS and think it's almost entirely going to replace my Steam Deck for PC gaming going forward. Those have all been my thoughts as a dual screen gaming nerd though. I'd love to know what y'all are thinking about the Flip DS. Are you considering picking one up for yourself and have additional questions you'd like me to answer? Or have you picked one up already and have thoughts of your own? Let me know down in the comments. As always, if you found this video interesting or informative, go ahead and click the like button to let me know. Then be sure to get subscribed for more dual screen gaming videos in the very near future. If Ayaneo does make updates that do address any of the gripes I've stated in this video, expect to see either a pinned comment down below or a follow-up video on the screen describing how those go. Even if they follow through with those updates though, I do think it is worth mentioning that this is the second system I've purchased from Ayaneo that arrived with less than stellar IS-based functionality. But hey, for now, that's going to be all for this video. Thank you so much for watching all the way until the end. Until next time, catch you later.